Welcome to the Registry's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. This show is about Plymouth County real estate. The numbers, as we've talked about for a while, are pretty dismal, is the word we use. Real estate is clearly in the doldrums between high interest rates, low inventory, and high sale prices. It's really slowed down our marketplace. I was at a meeting of the statewide registers yesterday up in Boston, and everyone is going through the same situation. It's the same impact everywhere. It's something that is cyclical, and at some point when the rates come back down again and marketplace gets a little hotter, it'll start to pick up again, hopefully by this spring. But let's get right to our numbers for the month of January. So we had 414 deeds recorded in January, less than the 533 in December. We're about 19% lower than last January at this time. So a year to date is only 1 month, so we're down 20% year to date. Next image you're going to see is of sales of property. We list sales for all of our 27 communities, from Abington down to Whitman, 26 towns, 1 city, the city of Brockton. The largest sales have traditionally been Plymouth and then Brockton, and that has happened once again in the month of January. Next, you're going to see another pretty dismal number of mortgages. When the rates went up, everyone stopped refinancing, so they just mostly mortgages used to purchase property. There were 816 mortgages recorded in January, less than the 923 in December, and we're down about 15% compared to last January's 958 mortgages, and again, year to date, down 15%. Again, when the rates come down, we'll have more action. We always follow foreclosure issues, particularly since the meltdown in 2008, very carefully. There were 16 foreclosure deeds across Plymouth County in January. Foreclosure deed is when a lender has taken back a property, usually for failure to pay. Can be a health issue, can be a job issue. A lot of different issues get in the way. But that is when the transition comes from ownership by you to ownership to a lender. Clearly, if you're in trouble, make some action to try to help that. And the foreclosure notice stage is a good chance to do that. So there were 50 foreclosure notices in January. The foreclosure notice is the first document we see at the Registry of Deeds that shows someone's in trouble. We've been working with an organization called NeighborWorks. Every month we send them all the properties that have received a foreclosure notice. They send out a document to them offering to help them. Maybe they can help them do some kind of modification to their mortgage. But the bottom line is, if people wait when they're in trouble, they're going to have very great difficulty in getting themselves situated. Nobody wants to lose a home. We don't want anybody to lose a home. The upset to families and people across the county when they lose a home is very, very significant and negative for a community. When we see zombie properties in communities, that means properties that have been abandoned, it's very difficult for a community to deal with that. And so we work very hardly with that, closely rather, with that program with NeighborWorks to make sure that doesn't happen. And you're going to see a list now of foreclosure and foreclosure deeds in notices by communities. You still see a lot of zeros. During COVID, the federal government shut down the ability to foreclose on property. Lenders are still getting caught up, and it's going to take a while before their machinery to do the foreclosures are back and organized. But you still see communities, particularly Brockton and Plymouth, 9 notices for Brockton, 7 for Plymouth, that are having more difficulty than other communities, certainly based upon the size, but also possibly based on the composition of those communities. So if you're in trouble, reach out. Everyone wants to help you. Don't be embarrassed. It's a great way to deal with your issue. So in this segment of the show, we usually have a guest, but I wanted to share with you some very important issues at the Registry of Deeds. There are a lot of people out there that are very fearful of fraud. Fraud is not as prevalent in the real estate market as some people may want you to think. Usually when there's a case of fraud, for us, in our observations over the years, it's been something within the family, giving somebody authority within the family to make a change, and it happens. But the best way to make sure that you're on top of it is if you go to our website, PlymouthDeeds.org, and go to our resource section on the page. There's something there called the fraud alert. If you click on that, again, go to our website, PlymouthDeeds.org, click on resources, and go to fraud alert. If you enter your email, when something gets recorded against your name, and you can enter multiple names, you will get an email saying there's been a recording. Now, it may be a recording that you'd like to be on record, that you paid off your mortgage, or there was an agreement of some type that you wanted to be recorded. But if it's something unusual, you can take advantage of that notice and go online or go to one of our offices in Brockton, Plymouth, or Rockland and ask our staff to look it up for you. You can be aware what has been recorded against your title. You know, one of our jobs at the registry is to record documents, sales, mortgages, etc. The other role is to make sure things don't get recorded on someone's title that shouldn't get recorded. And so we're playing defense as well as we're playing offense. And but only you can be the vigilant person for your own interests. And I strongly advise people that that free fraud alert is a good thing to do. We've also just signed a new contract to extend our transcription project. I've talked about in the past that although we have some beautiful handwritten documents going back into the 1600s, 1700s, in beautiful cursive writing, a lot of people going forward are not even being taught cursive. So we've done this project that takes the cursive documents, creates a transcription of a printed document, like a typewritten printed document, so that you can, when you see the cursive document, just above that, there'll be a button you can push and the handwritten document will come up. So we've done a lot of that so far. We've gone from 1685 up to about 1867. Our next project will bring us up to 1878. Now, in the 1870s, although it wasn't a complete typewritten document for our records, there is a form that people would fill out, a printed form, where they would have a printed form, and then they would then use handwriting to fill in the form. So it's a lot better than the original quill pen colonial writing. And we're doing that to help people out long term. We know in many schools they're not teaching cursive, and our records would be insignificant to them if you can't read them. The other thing I just want to talk about is there are scams out there. Many people will get something in the mail that tell you, we can get you a copy of your deed for $50, $75. And when I get those requests from those companies, I'm very upset, because you can go to one of our offices and get your deed for $1 a page. So don't fall for those scams. We try to warn people about them from time to time, but with my ability, without a guest today, to share that even more strongly. If you need a copy of your deed, don't fall for one of those traps. Go to one of our offices or call our customer service, because they can help you. Again, PlymouthDeeds.org. Our main number there is 508-830-9200, and they can help you out. So this segment's a little shorter than it normally is without the guest, but I'm going to go into some great colony and county history in just a moment. Thank you. So welcome back to the Register's Report. My name again is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this segment of the show, we've always done something a little lighter in nature than our recording issues. It's about the history of people and places in the county. It's called a notable land record collection. And the holidays for this month are very interesting. We try to connect them to the holidays, Groundhog Day, the Super Bowl coming up on the 11th, Lincoln's birthday on the 12th, President's Day coming up, Lithuanian Independence Day. And so the first one you're going to see is one we've talked about before, Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano was brought up in Brockton, and he became a fighter. He is the only undefeated heavyweight champion in history. Now, I talk about that at a time when we have the Super Bowl coming up this weekend. Everyone admires Patrick Mahomes. Everyone admires Tom Brady. They've been very successful in their careers, but nobody's ever been undefeated. Can you imagine being 49-0 in your career in anything? And the great news to share with you this month is we at the Registry have been working with the homeowner of that property, the city of Brockton, and many historical people. And we've actually had a notice from the Mass Historical Commission that project is accepted at the state level and ready to go on to the national level for entrance into the National Historical Register, National Register of Historical Places. A big move for the property, a big move for Rocky, a big move for the Rocky Marciano family, and a big move for athletics generally. He was a heavyweight champion in the world from 1952 to 1956. 43 of his wins were by knockout. And in 2005, the Brockton Historical Society designated the property as a landmark, but is moving forward, hopefully, to the national level. So our next notable record all relates to the holidays. Samuel Lincoln, a great-great-grandfather of Abraham Lincoln, settled in Plymouth County. He settled in the town of Hingham. He brought the Lincoln name to Hingham. If you ever go into downtown Hingham, there's a statue of Abraham Lincoln right across from the home where Samuel Lincoln lived. He came from Hingham, England in 1622. He immigrated to Hingham, was part of the building of the old ship's church. Property at the time was not Plymouth County. It was Suffolk County. Hingham was included in. So we had some great help from the Suffolk Registry in getting this information. But it's a great part of our American history as we celebrate Abraham Lincoln's birthday on the 12th in President's Day. Take a ride over and look at that statue. And last but not least, for the county records, we're celebrating Lithuanian Independence Day this month. Now, Lithuania is pretty interesting because Lithuania actually had two Independence Days. Once was a celebration of a separation from Germany, and once was a celebration of separation from Russia. And we celebrate Lithuanian Independence Day locally. In Brockton in particular, there were a lot of Lithuanians. Matter of fact, there was a whole neighborhood over there called Lithuanian Villages. Now, people have moved away, as everyone does in communities, but there's one person that grew up in the village, as we call it, who I want to talk a little bit about. Fred Bakutis. He was a graduate of Brockton High School, a graduate of the United States Naval Academy, and he began a distinguished career as a fighter pilot in World War II. He became a commander of the naval forces at both ends of the earth, the North and South Poles, and he actually led a naval task force that recovered the Apollo 10 astronauts. But interestingly, when Bakutis was serving in Antarctica, he named a newly discovered territory, Brockton, USA, Antarctica, in honor of his beloved hometown. And the city of Brockton, through some great activists at the time, city solicitor Henry Furnett, Mayor Jack Sims, presented a time capsule containing Brockton memorabilia to the commander of the United States Navy, Bob Doherty, and that time capsule is on site in Antarctica and is scheduled to be opened in 2067. If you go online, you can still see that. So we've always done some of our Plymouth Colony records. Since the 400th anniversary, this month we're bringing some forward. They're always available to view on the last Friday of the month at the Registry of Deeds, the second floor, our Colony Records Room. And they talk about interactions with the Native people. They were called Indians at the time, period when Indians could not buy horses. And then there was a period when they were allowed to buy horses. There was a period when the natives could not buy gunpowder or ammunition. And during the King Philip War period and thereafter, anyone who sold the natives gunpowder or ammunition was subject to death. And a variety of things like that that are fascinating indications of what it was like in the life of the old Plymouth Colony. So I want to thank the people here at PAC TV for the show we've done today. Dave Maybrecht, Dave Antoine, and everyone who works here. Cable television is a great way to share information. Many years ago, I worked for my congressman in Washington, came back and worked in the Brockton office, intentionally situated right across from the Brockton enterprise at the time, which was a huge enterprise. Subscriptions have gone down. The reporters have been decimated, and there are still ways that you need to understand what's going on in your world. And cable television, your local cable television stations, still provide that information, and I hope that you support them going forward. So we'll see you next month. Happy President's Day, and we'll see you in March.